Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is David Imamura, and I have the honor to be the first Asian American county legislator in Westchester's 400-year history. Today, right after Diwali, a group of Westchester Asian American organizations and elected officials are launching a campaign calling on every school district in Westchester to, one, include AAPI history as part of their curriculums, and two, to add Diwali and Eid to their school calendars as holidays. The time has come for schools to no longer just talk the talk, but to walk the walk when it comes to Asian Americans. When Korean grandmothers are assaulted on the street in White Plains, when Filipino women are viciously attacked in the lobbies of their Yonkers apartment buildings, our county must take a stand to ensure that Asian American history is taught to our children and that Asian American holidays are celebrated and recognized. As part of this effort, we'll be sending letters to every school district in the county calling on them to incorporate AAPI history and to recognize Diwali and Eid. It has never been easier for school districts to adopt these measures. New York City has recently incorporated AAPI history into their curriculum, and the Hidden Voices curriculum has been available to the public, identifying specific people and points in the curriculum where school districts can incorporate AAPI history class by class, grade by grade. Meanwhile, right after Diwali, it has never been easier for school districts to incorporate Diwali and Eid. As the state mandates that all schools add Lunar New Year as holidays to their calendars, now is the time to also recognize that the American story extends to all Asian Americans. In the time where the AAPI population in the county has dramatically increased, there's no better time than now to take these two measures. I want to thank the signatories of the letter, including OCA, the Asian American Advisory Board, the Indian American Cultural Association of Westchester, the Indian Center of Westchester, the Coalition for Asian American Children and Families, the REACH Coalition, the Masahid Collaborative of Westchester, and the Asian American Asian Research Institute, as well as a number of elected officials. So again, thank you all so much for coming. We have some additional speakers today. Let me hand the podium over to Assemblyman Nader Sage. Thank you so much for coming, Assemblyman.
Thank you very much, David. Today is indeed historic. We as Asian Americans, representing Southern Indian Peninsula, the Far East, the Middle East, all part of a diversified culture that we have here in New York State, in our county of Westchester, and the nation. And it becomes very crucial, whether we're legislators or educators or community activists, to recognize that our children's future depends on a quality education that is reflective of our cultural heritage, our race, our ethnicity, and our traditions, and respecting and recognizing the importance of celebrating not only Diwali, but lunar holidays and Eid holidays, as we respect and celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah and Three Kings, becomes really a necessity and a right that every child and every citizen deserves. Yesterday, many of us were privileged to attend in Queens Governor Kathy Hochul signing legislation that today is policy in the city of New York, where Diwali is a holiday that is to be recognized and celebrated by all students in New York. Today, there's many issues before us. One is the celebration of Diwali and other holidays that every child deserves throughout the state of New York. And as a New York State Assemblyman, we're looking at legislation to expand the holiday celebration in New York City to statewide. So every school district, as David said, would be given notice of what the guidelines would be to assure that students and families can celebrate. We also have legislation that was approved recently by the governor to make sure that there's diversity in hiring and encouraging young people in colleges and high schools to go into the teaching profession. And why is that important? Because I can tell you, as an educator, whenever we have an opportunity to assure that children see the teachers and administrators that look like they do and understand what they understand, becomes crucial for the learning process. So we are today promoting equity in recognition and equality in New York State and here in Westchester for all individuals, Asian Americans and all individuals diversified deserve that equality and deserve the recognition to celebrate holidays. So I'm very proud to join with the leaders that represent many ethnic and cultural traditions that make up our great county and state and nation. David, good luck and thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Next, we will hear from my colleague, the Majority Whip of the Westchester County Legislature, Tyree Woodson Samuels. Tyree?
Thank you, David. As mentioned, Tyree Woodson Samuels, Majority Whip. Not technically a member of the community, but I think it's important to stand here and to be here in solidarity to see Diwali, to see Eid, and to update our curriculum, right? We're in 2023, so as David aforementioned, it's about time, right? And one of my favorite quotes that actually comes to mind at this moment is, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And here we are standing together with my colleague Imamura, our colleague in the state, Nader Sage, to make this happen. And we will be sending out letters to each and every school district, which I look forward to signing on, along with each and every member of the board. And we will follow that up with action in our state legislative package in early 2024 to put our stamp of approval on this, because it needs to happen. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to share a few words, my friends, and we'll get this done together. All right? Take care, y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Whip. Next, we'll hear from the chair of the Asian American Advisory Board, Marjorie Sue. Marjorie?
Thank you, David. Having started in kindergarten not knowing how to speak English in Jackson Heights, Queens, having come to this country as an infant, I've always felt the immigrant, outsider, perpetual foreigner. And then once I started school, I did not learn that Asians first stepped foot on American soil in 1587, and that Filipino fishermen established a village in Louisiana in the late 1700s. Our children deserve to learn the rich history of Asians in America, and that they deserve a seat at every table. Studies have shown that Asian students, regardless of whether their families have been in America for many generations or if they're new immigrants, have the lowest sense of belonging of any ethnic group in America. So we need to fix that. We need to teach all students that Chinese workers helped build our country, namely the Transcontinental Railroad. We need to have all of our students know that Japanese Americans fought in World War II even while their families were interned in camps. And we also need all students to understand the rich history of our cultural traditions through celebrations of Eid, Diwali, in addition to Lunar New Year and Western holidays. And in our current crisis of hate and otherism, we need to, as Tyree say, stand together and help everyone feel like they're a productive member of our society, and they belong here and they have a right to be here. So let's enhance our curriculum so that every Westchester classroom is teaching our Asian American history and celebrating our cultural traditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie. Next, we'll hear from Ardsley School Board member Vikas Agrawal. Vikas.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Vikas Agrawal, and I'm on the school board of Ardsley School District, and I'm also a physician. So, just to give you background, I tend to think a lot of in biological terms, and paying attention and respecting a human being is very biological because human beings are a social animal. So it's very basic. Whatever you can call it, equity, inclusiveness. So recognizing by fellow human being is our basic craving. And I think in our town, a lot of parents took initiative, board supports and superintendent supports. We were able to have Diwali, Eid, and Lunar Year as a holiday, and that was so great. So many kids, so many parents came to the meetings, and so many people wrote their letters and how they feel, and people were very emotional. They don't have to do the homework next day, and they feel like they don't have to explain their holidays to other people because that way they get recognized. And I think we should do it whole Westchester, whole country, whole state. This is such important issues, and it's very emotional issues and human issues. And this country has a huge strength. We are multicultural and very diverse country. So I think it was a great step. My kids love it. I love it. And we have a huge community support. And I wish we can all follow the example of Ardsley. And I'm really proud of it and hope we can spread the fire. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Next, we'll hear from Janice Lynn, Edgemont Senior at Edgemont High School. Here we are.
Thank you, everyone. So, as David said, my name is Janice, and I am a current senior at Edgemont High School. And out of all my 13 years attending public schools in California and in New York, there's been very little representation of Asian Americans in my classes. The one Asian influence I can recall recently is last year in my English class where we read Pachinko over the summer, which is a book by Min Jin Lee, a novel about multiple generations of a Korean family who spend their time in Japan. But since the book was only summer reading, that meant we spent a lot less time discussing it in class, whereas in comparison to other books that we read last year. And in my social studies classes, especially in U.S. history, there's been very little taught about how Asian Americans have influenced and shaped the world that we have today. But I know that there's so much that Asians have contributed to our country throughout the centuries. Including more representation in classes will help Asian Americans like myself picture themselves in more influential roles, such as a powerful advocate or an important executive or whatever they may dream of. I strongly encourage everyone to think about how seeing representations in books and history might make future generations of students more excited to learn, give them a sense of belonging in their school, but also in the broader community of the state, country, and the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Next from IACAW, we have Bhavna Pawa. Bhavna?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bhavna Pawa, and I'm a proud first-generation immigrant to the United States. I'm proud to call the U.S. my home, and I'm equally proud of the culture that I bring with me from my home country, India. I think it's increasingly important. We live in very, very global times. We also live in extremely turbulent times. And if ever there was a time for us to be inclusive and to have our children not only have pride in their own culture, but also understand, see, and accept the cultures of other of their peers, then it is now. So I ask that the 48 school districts in Westchester accept and understand that how important it is for the children in their schools to during their formative years to really understand the various cultures that are represented in their schools. The Asian continent represents more than 48 countries and a very, very diverse culture and very diverse cultural practices. And I'm hope that the school districts will recognize this and will teach our children to see, to understand, and to know and accept each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna. Next, we have from the great city of Yonkers, Janai Wallace. Janai. Yay.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say I was born here. My mother and grandmother came here from India, Kolkata, India. Growing up here and being born an American, I never felt like an American because I never felt accepted. We weren't represented in anything. I remember growing up and up until junior high school or high school, you never even heard of India. So trying to explain to kids who you are, where you came from, and why you look the way you do, it's not easy. It's not easy. So I'm very excited at the potential of my grandchildren being able to see themselves in history books and understanding that although my grandmother came here in 1957, their culture was here long before that. Some of the words that we use in modern day language is from India, like pajamas. You know, some of the most simplest things, but that will never, ever be known unless we teach our children that history. And we can't leave it up to parents to do that, because how is a Caucasian family going to teach their children about Indian culture or Chinese culture? They don't know because they were never taught. So I think it's such an exciting time for us. And we're taking a turn to create a more diverse, accepting culture in America. And I'm proud to be here today.
Thank you, Janai. And to close us out, we have Bill Kong from OCA. Bill. Yay.
Hello, my name is Bill Kong. I'm with OCA Advocate. OCA Advocate is an advocacy group for APIA rights. And my statement is basically this whole thing is the fault of the New York region. They're not doing their job. Their job is supposed to see that all our children are taught diversity, various culture in the school system, but they're not doing it. They're not pushing it down, so they're not promoting diversity to the school systems and make sure it's done. So since they neglect and they're doing their job, I urge the New York State Senate and Assembly pass the law that's in their hands to join our neighbors, state of Connecticut, state of New Jersey. They all have passed the similar law, and the New York State have not because of the state region. And we need to do something about the New York State region and get them on the board to promote diversity. When the school system do not promote diversity, it creates misunderstanding, and the children are not learning to understand each other. Okay, and I think that's very important. And we have come across some OCA have come across some pushback from some school district on teaching of the Asian cultures, etc. in the past. So I'm glad to see that the David is pushing for this in the local school district, but we still need a law to be passed in Albany, regardless what the region says. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. And let me just emphasize that this is not the end, but the beginning, right? The beginning of a battle to show that Asian American history is American history. So this is just the beginning of our fight, district to school district, to make sure that the Asian American story is heard to everyone. So thank you all so much for coming, and have a good evening. Thank you.